What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And before I jump into this interview here with an old friend of mine, I got to do a little bit of housekeeping. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Also, if you're watching us on Rumble, hit the follow button on there. We're trying to build up our numbers so people can get this content that we're putting out there and some of these great interviews that we have, like the one that I'm about to have, catching up with an old friend of mine,
Awesome.
Mr. Chris. Now, is it Chi or Key?
I say Bianchi.
Bianchi. All right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's why. I mean, I always screwed that up with you. I remember,
No,
but so
I
I
know
was
it
just like,
is.
Chris.
It's a weird one. So
Yeah. But man, it's good to kind of virtually see you and get a chance to talk and catch up a little bit.
absolutely.
So much that I want to try and cover in the amount of time we have. But usually when I have somebody on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So,
Sure.
what did you originally want to be when you grew up?
To be honest, and it probably sounds cliche a little bit, but like the only thing I ever dreamed of in my mind was being a rock star. And short after that, it was a list of two. Short after that, honestly, was a professional wrestler of all things. Um,
Nice.
but that I was coming up in that MTV era. I remember, I was born in '88, but like through the early '90s, especially, that's what really did it for me was watching like Poison videos, Motley Crue videos, Bon Jovi, all that kind of stuff, just looking larger than life in those videos back then, and just always dreaming, pre-internet days, like I just want to do that in some way. I didn't know if I wanted to be the singer, guitar or anything specifically, but just like I want to do that. So it started at an early age for me.
Yeah, and you got into this whole kind of line of work at an early age too. But do you remember when it was that you like first picked up your first instrument and knew that, hey, I want to learn this and play?
Sure. I mean, I think around sixth grade, it must have been maybe fifth grade. It was more seriously, I mean, I think until then I didn't really understand, I guess, playing too much or anything. I had a guitar and would strum here and there on it, and I always wanted to learn, but I couldn't pay enough attention to want to sit there and learn the notes yet and things like that, being so young. So when I had got a drum set, I think it was right around again fifth grade. It was my first real drum set that I could sit there and just bang around on and figure things out and listen to music and try to play along to it and stuff. So right around there it was when I started to pay attention and try to take it serious. And I joined like my school band too in percussion, only for a year. It didn't last too long. It just didn't fit for me. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I felt like I was kind of being held back a little bit from just wanting to be free, freestyling and stuff.
Gotcha. And then like when did it go from like, like high school band to actually like forming bands with your friends?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was right around early high school and through my high school years. I played drums in like a hardcore screamo type of a band, and we ended up gigging all around, the Northeast Ohio area, playing like Akron, Canton, Youngstown, think Cleveland, things like that. Did the Peabody's Battle of the Bands, all that fun stuff. And we started taking that a little bit more seriously as time went on. And that was right around the time when people were starting to kind of need to go to college or kind of figure out what life was going to bring. And the other members kind of had separated, each was doing their own thing. But to me, there was still nothing else that I had wanted to do at all but play music. I didn't have an idea yet of what, how or the what or anything. But yeah, so I was still gigging through then. And that's what kind of led me into the Forever in Terror situation. Was they were another band that lived nearby. We would play with them all the time. I was good friends with those guys. And it just so happened to be absolute coincidence of timing that, their singer situation didn't work out. My band was kind of on its way out of playing drums and things. Those guys were just getting going of like, hey, we're about to tour. We're about to record an album. These guys were full go. And it was the perfect matching of like, wow, I can't believe right down the street from me, these kids have the same ambitions and dreams, especially at such a young age, 10th grade, basically, to take it seriously and see it as kind of a business beyond just like gigging in the garage and stuff. So once I was able to mesh with those guys, it really changed everything, from about 11th grade on.
Nice. Yeah. So I remember, you know, working at one time with Forever and Terror. I don't remember if you were already in it at that time.
Mhm.
Maybe you remember because unfortunately, back then I was kind of like, dollar bill under the influence and stuff like that. But I do remember, I think working at one time on a gig at Peabody's with you guys.
Yeah.
But I remember the hype and how you guys blew up, and then kind of like, I guess, shows the difference between discipline and sobriety, and staying focused on your goals. But you guys ended up getting a label deal at it, at one time too, and
Yes.
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that was pretty crazy too. That was kind of right on that line too, right when they were signing the deal and about to sign the deal and stuff, is right when I was coming into the picture. So I mean, they had put in the work, worked really hard with the past singer, and worked really hard to build that up. So I mean, I came in and didn't want to take advantage in any way of what situation they had already built and stuff. So I wanted to come in and match that work effort just as hard. So I had never, to be honest, I was never a screamer or a singer in my entire life prior to that. I had never, ever done it. It was basically like I was such good friends with them. They didn't want to kind of take anybody else that they didn't know. They wanted to have the comfortability, at least, I think, of somebody that they could kind of trust, and knew that I worked hard and, had the experience in the other local bands. So they worked with me. I spent, weeks training on practicing and learning, rehearsing, learning how to be a live singer, studying videos, vocal warm-ups and techniques and lessons. And then we immediately jumped into the studio and recorded that for Metal Blade Records, our 10-song debut album, in Cleveland, which was really exciting. And yeah, just talk about being, thrown into the fire basically, though, of within a matter of like 3 months, it was like learn vocals, practice vocals, write 10 songs for an album, get in the studio and record them, then hit the road and start touring, So it was such a whirlwind, but a really exciting time to be a part of Metal Blade Records back then, especially.
And that's awesome too, that you were like, you mentioned, you were studying tape, and vocal lessons, and I
Sure.
mean, you're it sounds like with everything, as we'll get into, you jump in and you're all in, and you try and learn every aspect of how to build it to make it successful. And I read that you started booking shows at like 14. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
correct?
and I mean that's even pre Forever and Terror days, with my other band, and we did the DIY thing, and that was like still some of the best times that I can ever remember with our old screamo band. Is like we would book the VFW Hall, in our small town out here, Shalersville, and put 3 or 4 of our other friends' bands on it from the area, and it would be like we'd book it for $200 back then, and didn't care about stage and lights and PA really. We would just DIY piece it together and bring 300 kids, out of the woodwork that would come sell this place out for $5 a piece. And we were, in 14, we were making money and stuff. So like selling, a few t-shirts and like 300 kids we were playing to. And it was just this crazy time. And this was even before any of us could drink or anybody was partying or anything. It was just like nothing else to do around here. So that's kind of how I immediately was learning early on, like, wow, we could actually put this together. We could actually charge the ticket price. We could rent a club. So we would do that more, and ended up doing like some backyard parties and did this and did that. So when Forever and Terror came, we did have a booking agent and stuff, but it fell in my lap eventually to kind of just take the reins of the day to day and kind of overseeing some booking and planning out some tours and things like that. So yeah, it's always been kind of a part of what I've enjoyed doing.
Which is great too, because like, recently been having a discussion with my daughter. She's been was really enjoys show choir performing, does have a good voice. I'm kind of partial being her dad, but
Well, that's awesome.
she's been following like music in college, for a music
Sure.
degree. And I
Sure.
keep trying to tell her, okay, well, make sure you get some of that business background, take some of those business classes, learn all
Crucial.
sides of everything, because you need to know, getting into something like this, you should know all aspects. And it sounds like you had your own like college course, but like by life, by just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what inspired me, I guess along the way to again want to stay in music after even Forever and Terror had kind of, we were all so young at that point too that everybody didn't know like what life held still. We were like teenagers turning into barely young adults. So like people still wanted to experience college or, you know, trying other things out and all that stuff instead of just being on the road all the time and being burnt out so young and stuff. So at that point, those guys wanted to take a break. And I knew myself, I still wanted to do music. And that's where I was like seeing so many great, talented bands on the road opening for us, you know, for example, being out there or just, you know, touring with other bands that, you know, didn't have help and things. It's what inspired me to found CB Entertainment. You know, kind of when our touring came to a halt, I was like, I still want to do something involved. How can I bring benefit to bands? And, you know, we started off just doing booking in Kent, you know, Kent, Ohio and stuff like that. But eventually, you know, grew into artist development and artist marketing and then distribution and merchandising. And, you know, now it's kind of flourished into this whole entertainment, you know, thing that we have going on all over the world, which is really exciting. But yeah, it was a labor of love from wanting to help other bands, you know, again, that we found and that I found and wanted to keep going from there.
Yeah, I wanted to talk, you know, about like that you know, that beginning, but also like what it's grown into. And you mentioned you touched a little bit on everything. In fact, yeah, I mean, we were, you know, supposed to connect like earlier, and then you're on the phone with the labels or something, you
Sure.
know, and I'm like, just like, damn, this dude is busy, man. You
Yeah.
got your hands in everything. So talk about like, um, you know, the artist management part, like was, you know, was that like the original, what was the original thing again that you mentioned that you
Yeah.
started CB Entertainment for? Was it just the
It was
artist
it was it was like booking mainly because that's something that I understood and kind of knew the process of from the past history. And then artist management kind of fell into my lap, so to speak, through the booking process of like booking some tour packages that were coming in, talking with other bands and things. And then one of the bands that I remember we did a tour with, I won't say like I discovered them by any means or anything like that, but it was an early band that I just still remember like standing out to me. And I was like, man, this band is so crazy. Was I Wrestled a Bear Once, if you remember them from, you know, back in the heyday and stuff. And that
Yeah.
was a band, you know, we saw the process. They were on a smaller label. We took them out on a tour with us and a friend's band. And I mean, I watched it in front of my eyes, that band, you know, taking off nightly and stuff, but they didn't have management then or, you know, a proper agent or anything going on. So that was like, you know, sparking my wheels like, man, I know what I'm doing. Can we help this band? You know, and obviously we had a very small little part of taking them on the road and whatever, but stuff like that is where it started. And then, you know, over the years too, with the booking thing, we ended up bringing through Kent like 21 Pilots when in their early stages, when I think the first show was like, you know, I told the story a lot in interviews, but like the first show was 5 people that were there for 21 Pilots in Kent, Ohio. And then we
Wow.
brought him back again. My partner Brian brought him back again. I forget 6-8 months later or something. And there was, you know, 40 people there, 50 people there. So it grew a little bit. And then about a month after that, boom, they hit MTV and signed and did all that stuff. And, you know, obviously now play arenas and everything, but just seeing that process was crazy. MGK, same similar story. You know, we had him come through when he was, you know, in his early stage. A couple hundred people came through again, sold it out in like a week, and then went on to just boom. You know, now he's playing the Cleveland Arena. So I mean, we didn't sign them or, you know, or anything responsible for them, but just being a part of that and seeing it in a little fraction was really cool too, along the way of these years with CB Entertainment.
Definitely, man. Those are some cool stories. And I mean, like you mentioned, MGK, look at where he's at now. It's like my daughters are all about him, you know?
Sure.
And I remember seeing like one of his first shows at like the Blind Lemon before, you know,
Yeah.
became the Foundry and everything, you know?
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely. So no,
So
it's neat and
yeah,
it's inspiring to see that stuff. You know, from obviously just being from, I guess, call it Cleveland, right? But I'm always impartial to that stuff, and just anybody who will give love to the city here, I always try to give respect to. You know,
yeah, for sure, for sure. Don't forget like where they came from and stuff, you know?
absolutely.
And unfortunately, sometimes Cleveland will, you know, I guess for lack of a better term, eat their own or poo poo anybody that, you know, instead of getting behind it and, you know, support
It's
and
hard.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
it
hard.
can be tough sometimes. Now, as your as CB Entertainment has grown, and like you said, we just talked about some of the artist management stuff, but you got your own merchandising now and your label. You
Sure.
want to mention talk about how that came to be for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think with today or in today's world, it's important for any artist or like musician, you know, creative mind to understand that like it's not just obviously one element that's involved. And I kind of always understood that, I guess maybe from like booking shows and touring and being through the ringer at that early age of, 17, 18, 19, 20, that by the time, I started growing into the CB thing, I already in my mind saw like, wow, we could do this. We could offer this. This could be beneficial. I know how this part works and stuff. So it was always in my mind almost from day one to try to keep things in house in a way, and not being not in a selfish thing or anything, but I feel like we can do a lot of the stuff with understanding, and that way we're in control of it. We can explain to the artist the how, the why. It's always my goal to teach them, as well, work with them, like, so they understand what they're getting into and all that stuff. So like, for example, the merchandise thing, they were paying out, a lot of our artists were paying out to third party companies, spending too much money, getting stuck with back stock orders of like, oh, we have all these sizes left over and this and that. So we were able to come in and teach them a new way to where we could print it on demand and ship it, build merchandising up in house and do things like that. So yeah, we actually invested through a partnership to buy a printing, company, to where now we can offer that discounted to our artists and to other third party clients and things like that. So it kind of got us skin in the game there because, I saw it being such a viable thing. And in time, it was the same exact thing for a label. I never necessarily wanted to have a label or planned to start a label, but it was almost just like product of nature happening of through, we find the artists that need the help developing. They're really, really talented. They just don't have, growth yet or the numbers or anything. So we're able to market them, manage them, help get their name and brand situated. And they still might not be at a point where other labels want to take the risk yet or take a chance. And I got tired of knocking on other labels' doors um, and talking with them and them denying, hey, it's not big enough. Hey, we don't have the big enough numbers yet, whatever. So I said, okay, you know what? We know how to put this out. We understand the process. So let's do that. And we ended up partnering with Ingroups, which is a really great distributor all over the world. And they're owned by Universal Music Group, to distribute Legend Recordings and CB Entertainment. And we've been with them, I think, 4 years now and have continued growth. We just recently hit, I think, over like 30 or 35 million views and streams, which is, to some small, but to us as a, small indie out of Cleveland, just a passion, labor of love label. It's been really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And you'd mentioned too, you know, as this has grown, obviously, I mean, you mentioned your ADD, and kind of like always got to be focused and doing something, but obviously this can't be all growing and happening as a one man show. So you had to start building a team with
Sure.
people, surround yourself with people you trust, in this industry. How did you start? When did it start getting to the point where you knew you had to start adding players, and how did you find your players?
Absolutely no, and that's a great question, and it's still something that's tricky, and I think it will always be tricky because having a brand is something, it's your baby obviously to a certain extent, and you care about it, but I mean your brand is like your everything too. If you have a tarnished brand or a reputation by people that work for you or people that could do something, that can be the end of the road. So from day one, I've again kind of thankfully understood that and been selective on who we're willing to work with. I try to kind of vet the people or the companies or whoever it might be personally, through rapport back and forth, conversations, asking them questions, whatever it might be, to kind of vibe out, how it can make sense, or the people have past history of some sort that kind of makes sense to work with. So it's a lot of third party partnerships more than having a big in-house staff, just because I like the flexibility of being able to have people, if one video design doesn't make sense, we know we have three other people we can kind of go to and facilitate and fluctuate. So certain things we'll keep in house. We have somebody in house that helps us with booking, somebody that helps us with design and video editing and things like that. That's kind of full time in house. But other than that, just outside partnerships that have become close through vetting, over the years. Or other things I'll try to do is give opportunities to our artists, that we represent. It's not always, a full-time job necessarily, but if they have a skill, they can do video work or they can film or do tour footage while they're going to be on a tour or whatever it might be. We'll try to figure out a way that we can work them in, to helping, benefit the artist as a whole and paying them too and stuff. So that's what's been pretty helpful, especially with like production and recording and stuff in today's age. I mean, I'd say almost all of our artists can record and produce really damn well. So that's been pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned too, being your baby, being your brand, your name, it's wanting to keep that good reputation because that goes so far in the
Yeah.
industry. And it's just like, I was, self-reflecting and, thankfully I didn't like nuke a bunch of bridges in my storied past that people still like yourself are still willing to, talk with me or do this interview and connect with me. I mean, 13 years sober now. So,
That's
still a lover
incredible.
of. Thanks, man. And just still a lover of the Cleveland music scene. And um, thankfully, a lot of people just saw my heart, even though, I was struggling back then and still put up with me. So, like yourself and Dan, our buddy Dan. And uh, speaking of which, I want to get into a little bit with your partnership with Dan and Incarceration. But real
Sure.
quick, I also noticed you put out a book. You
Yes.
want to talk about that as well? Like what kind of led you to dip your hat in the author field?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, I guess, sounding repetitive, but a little bit of the ADHD part of my mind was like, I was looking one day, even just kind of looking for a reference of like, what are other managers doing out there? What picking their brains just to try to help better kind of myself and my overall understanding and what they were doing. And I found a few books and found a few things, but there was just so many. Most of them were really hard and long reads and, all this stuff. So I wanted to just put my mind on paper, basically, especially because we work with a lot of artists, anywhere from 10 to 30 artists at a time, between management, marketing, label, so there's a lot. So instead of kind of repeating myself to them the same process, I wanted to just take my brain, put it on paper, the exact thing that I would teach, or say what works for me and what has worked for me, trial and error type of a thing. So especially, I think it was around COVID or right before, but myself, and I have an entertainment attorney that was a partner of mine that we work with on a lot of projects. Again, he helps protect the bands, on the legal side of things for us, which is really nice. So we kind of put our minds together, and I came approaching from like, I guess, the musician side and more of a management side of things, putting pieces and parts in there. And he came in with the legal side of things, as far as just things to look at and think about as a group, and yada yada, what it might be. So it's almost like a step by step guide of kind of, again, running your band as a business and really taking a step back and thinking, is this a business or is it a hobby? And then, once you can figure that out through reading through the book, it kind of gives you the step by step guide, what to do, the hows, the whys, all that stuff. And there's even little quizzes that we've thrown in there just to kind of help, keep your brain fresh. We've put a note section in the book too, for the physical copy. So, if you wanted to jot certain notes or anything like that. So it was just kind of something that, again, it was time to do that. So that way we can deliver that book that we have, to any of our new artists. And it's included, as a part of when we'll work with them to, hey, research this, reference it. It's available. Here's a physical copy. It's also available on audiobook because, I'm not a huge reader. I don't like to sit there for a long time and read 400 pages and stuff. So audiobook all the way. We made positive we had that. So like you can even listen on the go just to take it in. So yeah, it was just something that it kind of made sense to do. And it's been really exciting to have that out. We've got a lot of good feedback and reception from, both musicians, but other managers and industry people as well, said it was, something pretty helpful. So that was nice.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And then, I mean, you kind of mentioned the importance of like networking and always being willing to learn, along the way
Yes.
and just maintaining a positive attitude. I mean, how much would you stress that that's key in you know your growth and success?
So much so. I mean, I think, everyone has their own personal way of working and perspectives and opinions and things. I mean, I think this business is, you're never going to stop learning, especially because technology is changing and the industry is changing every day and the ways they're changing and things. So it's always something fun and exciting just to stay fresh and up to date on, even if you're not always utilizing the stuff, but what it is, or just knowing what it is and all that stuff. Networking as well. I mean, that's absolutely a top crucial part of this business. Is, it's kind of in who you know or how you know, or coming back to your brand, reputability or reputation. You need to be able to pick up the phone and call a certain booking agent sometimes, or call a certain club promoter on a certain level, or whatever it might be. You want to establish relationships that can help you in the future. And then, what I try to keep in mind as well is what can I offer back to those people? And it's not just use me, use you, but like, you want to have something of validity of like why why would I help you, what can you bring back for me? So I'll try to have that kept in mind, and that's where we can bring things in, like video service offerings or marketing extra assistance or merchandising and deals and certain things or whatever it might be to offer, and still bring something to the table there, when it comes to networking and relationships. So I mean, yeah, I think that's a crucial part.
That definitely, definitely, and that I guess brings us to like I just mentioned. We got Incarceration coming up
Yeah. Oh
festival
my God.
again. You've been had a big part having your own stage, the CB Entertainment stage,
Sure.
set up. Giving new talent an opportunity to play at a festival this size. But
Sure.
I guess first we'll start. Like, how did your relationship come to be with Dan?
Oh man, so I could go on for a long story, about all that stuff. I'll try to keep it summed up. So basically, I've known Dan since I was, a younger teenager in the Forever in Terror days. He actually used to help book and manage us as a part of our management team and collective back early on when we were very first signed to Metal Blade. So I mean, he was someone that kind of helped take us on the road, and because we were 17, 18, 19, we were old enough, but like we still had an adult that would come out sometimes and help oversee stuff and get us hotel rooms sometimes, just whatever we needed. So he was kind of our go-to guy and friend with that, and brought us a lot of awesome shows and opportunities. We had always worked closely with him and respected him from that. Kept in touch with him over the years, and I mean, it's always just been back and forth. I mean, I've kept in touch with him. He was doing other projects. I've sent him my projects. Just always stayed friendly, and it's just been one of those, again, thankful relationships in the business that's hard to come by, but somebody you've known for shoot 10, 15 years now that you actually still can trust and all that. So I
Yeah,
had mentioned this idea to him when he was first taking over the festival and initiating and getting things growing there, and just told him if there's ever any time or opportunity, whatever we could do to again bring value of trying to help build this thing with you, but to also give up and coming artists from all over a chance to get exposure, because a lot of those big festivals don't, unless you like win a special contest or do a battle of the bands, or and that's not dogging any of that stuff, that's totally fine, but I mean, I just still wanted to have some way to do that for artists. So I mean, when the time came that he said, hey, I think we're finally able to make this work, I was beyond honored and thankful, and still I'm super honored to be able to participate, especially now that the Wimmer Presents team is involved and it's gotten even bigger. They're an incredible company. Dan's been incredible, and we're trying to do everything we can to bring again that exposure for up and coming artists that are maybe nationals but still growing, or touring, or local, regional, whatever it might be. We're trying to kind of, and instead of just throwing things on for favors and stuff, we're actually taking the time to curate and try to find stuff that really is like good music that people will want to see too.
yeah, and then like we mentioned the relationship and how you got involved through our mutual friend Dan Janssen, but when Danny Wimmer came on board, how was he? Was he receptive to letting the CB Entertainment stage be a part of the festival, and how's meeting him and your interaction with him been?
Sure. So I mean, when he came on board, it just was a weird time, because it was like still the COVID kind of time, and even the last year when we did it, it was still kind of coming off of the COVID thing, a lot of precautions and masking and keeping distance and stuff. So I didn't get to spend a lot of personal time with Danny really at the fest, and especially because he was so busy. They definitely are aware of us and our partnership and all that stuff, and it's been great. Their team's been supportive nonetheless of getting the stage going and making sure our production is smooth for everything that we've needed. And I think as long as we're good with Dan, I hope Jansen, that is, that we kind of are a part of that team of whatever is with him. So it's been really great, and I mean, I want to make them proud too of not just about our brand and CB Entertainment, but I want to make them proud for what that is and the opportunity that they've given us to keep showcasing awesome bands and not be a pain in their ass as well. I know they have a lot going on to deal with, so we want to be there, but be seen, be heard a little bit, but just be in and out of their way. So
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. And then for fans attending this year, any bands that are going to be playing your stage that you're really encouraging people to check out, keep an eye on?
Absolutely, absolutely. So three of our headliners actually, and they'll be spread out through each day. But so our first, I believe it'll be the Friday. But Paul Bartolome, he's a hard rock singer songwriter. He'll be flying in from the United Kingdom actually, and this will be his first United States performance ever. So I mean, he's had a lot of good stuff. You know, singles with Kellen Quinn from Sleeping with Sirens, and singles with Danny from Asking Alexandria, and he's surpassed multi-million views and streams. And he's about to embark on a headline tour in the United Kingdom. So it'll be really exciting to just have him come over here, bring his energy and show and charm to the stage here. So that'll be one day. Another day will be Paralandra, who's a hard rock band out of Springfield, Missouri. And again, those guys are just continuing to grow through, hard work of touring, playing the circuit, building their name and working with a great producer. So I'm really excited for them to come showcase and headline. And then the third one, there's a lot of great ones, but the third one that comes to mind is Defying Decay. It's another band that these guys are metalcore, and they've done shows even with Slipknot. They're out of Thailand, actually, which is pretty wild. So they're actually going to be coming all
Nice.
the way over. They've done tours in the past with Motionless in White, all kinds of bigger names and acts and things. So, I mean, it'll be quite a show and a spectacle. And they have about 6 or 7 members in their band. So, I mean, they're bringing full production, full imagery. I mean, it's a really exciting show to see them. So I'm looking forward to that as well. All the other great bands.
Awesome, man. Yeah, me too, man. Definitely want to check out that last band you just mentioned.
Definitely.
Um, and then speaking of festivals, you started doing one yourself last year too, Summit Fest. You want to talk about you know, your experience with that, and then go ahead and promote this year's.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, that's been a labor of love. Um, a headache, a growing process. As with anything, everything will have growing pains along the way until you kind of trim the fat and mold it up and shape it up. But yeah, so it's been an idea again that started probably, I want to say 4 years ago. I wanted to do something without being like competing with like a Danny Wimmer size event or something like that. They already have those. I wanted to do something just a little more drawn back, like some cool national bands, a weekend camp out, bring like a handful of our bands in, all of our friends, have like food trucks, just a fun time, kind of a party atmosphere more than just taking it so seriously as like big mega festival and it's corporate and it's all this big money and whatever $20 drinks and all. They have plenty of those. So I just wanted to have simplicity where you can be free and enjoy yourself and camp and like rock out. So we started working on that about 4 years ago. COVID came, that wiped out about 2.5 years of the whole progress of everything, as it did with everybody. So it was kind of just canned. We ended up having to switch venues, which is how we landed on the Summit County Fairgrounds Arena, a really supportive place. It's a huge venue with plenty of parking. They do have camping there on site, which is really awesome. We can have the food trucks and multiple stages and just plenty of room and comfortability again, where like even if there's a lot of people, you're not like crammed in. You can walk, just breathe and enjoy yourself and stuff. So it's been a labor of love growing. This year we have, 15 bands that'll be playing. I think we have 8 or 10 nationals. Unearth is coming out, which I'm really excited about. Impending Doom, Dropout Kings. We have Hunt the Dinosaur, who are really starting to take off. So it's definitely a pretty heavy themed event this year. But every year is going to be something different. There's really no rules to it. It's just literally based on like what I'm kind of feeling. Is like last year was more like kind of radio rock and hard rock. This year it just kind of happened to be with timing and how it went. We went with a heavier thing. So who knows what next year could bring? I mean, I don't necessarily work in like hip hop or anything or country much, but like in the rock world, metal world, alternative, we don't know. We just try to switch it up for the fans because I feel like now, especially too, the demographic isn't so limited. It's wide open. People enjoy a lot of different things. So the goal with Summit ultimately is a party atmosphere. It's affordable. It's close to home, hopefully for a lot of the region around Northeast Ohio, somewhere where you can come enjoy the day, enjoy awesome music, but not feel like you're tied into such a big corporate thing the whole day.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and it sounds like the relationship's already starting off well with Summit County. That you could see yourself doing more down the line there, huh?
Yeah. Thankfully, they've been really supportive at the arena. I'm in well as well with the sheriffs there and their department. They've been really supportive. Everybody around there has been super supportive of it. And coincidentally, even the fire chief and stuff, he was familiar and he's like, oh, this is fine. I'm used to metal. I've been to Coachella. I've worked that. I've worked, crazy events. So I mean, like, it was super smooth as far as the support went. Even when I told them about, are you sure this is pretty heavy metal and stuff, they were like not phased by that. So that was nice.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely come check it out myself this year.
Yeah, of course. We'll have a great time out there. We'll have some good food trucks and vendors and obviously a bunch of fun bands and good times. So
Now, speaking of like some good times, now I didn't see you as this guy, but I was pleasantly surprised. I saw some pictures of you out at a range getting
yeah,
some rounds off and stuff. You want to care to talk a little bit about what got you into, firearms? And I guess your area is probably more. I'm still up here in Cuyahoga County, where it's like I have to drive more, you
right.
know.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like country farms and fields out pretty much where I'm at here. But yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed hunting and stuff like that. I guess ever since I was even a kid. I mean, I did the hunter safety and deer hunting and stuff like that throughout my childhood. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like I guess, an avid shooter or anything like that more than anybody else. I enjoy it, but that one that I got a hold of there in the video was more a new toy. It's a little plinker. It's actually an automatic BB gun. So that thing, I mean, I just got that for like, target practicing out in the yard and just shooting at cans and just, whatever it is. Especially because ammo though is so expensive now to like go out and target practice, or if you go to a range or whatever it is, it can add up to be kind of pricey depending. So I mean, I guess that was my way of like safely, affordably, messing around and going out and plinking with that thing. But I mean, it feels realistic. It looks, I mean, everything kind of matches what would be, the actual rifle, which is really nice because it also just gives you that comfortability of handling and working and, knowing your trigger placement and all that stuff. But yeah, so I just got that plinker for fun, and the thing is awesome, man, and it's powerful too. It freaking it put a hole through a good chunk of wood all the way through. So
Nice, man. Yeah, I'll have to look into that because that's a good idea. Because it's like you said, man. It's like I usually keep a fair amount of ammo on
yeah,
myself,
yeah,
and with the prices, I've been like, a couple friends have like asked me to go out, and I'm like, man, I got to either learn how to do my own
reload, yeah,
ammo, yeah,
right,
reload my own ammo, or just hold off, But
right,
for the whole muscle memory and the training, it sounds like that's a nice alternative, affordable
yeah.
alternative to
Yeah,
stay.
the company, I'll send it to you or something. I think it's Crossman is the company, and I stumbled on it. Obviously, it's like one of those random, like, kind of a YouTube or whatever. I was just like browsing through some things and had saw that because I was looking into like some ranges and other, guns and rifles and things, and I was like, and interested. And then I looked into it, and there's, a whole community of obviously kind of like airsoft or paintball, but a whole community of just this BB situation, and it's not even firing at each other, but just like I mean, they have it all, the scopes and the snipers, and it's like full on, I mean, pistols and fully auto and all kinds of neat stuff, toys to kind of mess around with and stuff. So it's pretty cool. And again, I like it's affordable, but it feels, similar to what you're doing in real situation, depending.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, to keep that muscle memory going,
Yeah.
where,
Yeah.
uh, God forbid, a situation occurs where you need to use the real deal, you
Right.
know, um, got to stay, I mean, it's a tool. So you got to you safely and maturely know how to handle those things, for all the people that might be offended us talking about these things out
Oh
there.
yeah, no, absolutely, and it's true. I still remember even I have the story, but my first BB gun I'll never forget. It was like the Red Ryder story, and like I got it as a kid. Went out to like shoot a can or something. I had the safety goggles on, and my mom and like saying the same same thing. Shoot your eye out, whatever. And I'm like, I'll be fine. And I was even standing back, and boom, sure as crap, tanked it, and it popped back and hit my safety goggle. I was like terrified. Then oh, it's real. It's But I'll never forget that with the BB gun. So
Yeah, it's like she jinxed you.
right, just like
Well, yeah, man. I definitely, from what I saw, it looked like a good time. I was like gonna,
absolutely.
have to invite myself out that way sometime and
Oh yeah, there's
bring some of
plenty of
my
room
toys
out
with
here
you.
to fire and oh man, four wheeling and shoot, they got all kinds of stuff out around here that they're always doing.
Sounds good. Yeah, my youngest is a senior in high school this year, and once she graduates, man, I'm looking to relocate, and that's the type
Sure.
of area and atmosphere I like to be in.
Absolutely. No, super chill and comfortable. I love it. Nobody bothers you, and you're close enough still to like I said everybody laughs at me like my friends from not here, but I'm like 30 minutes from everything, literally like 25 and 30 minutes to Akron, 30 minutes to Cleveland, 30, 45 to Lake Erie, like anywhere you want to be, you're almost like right in that strange center point. It feels like it's crazy.
Yeah, perfect, man. So, I know we're running short on time here, but I wanted to ask you, like, what kind of goals do you have set for yourself going forward?
Oh, honestly, I don't know. It changes kind of quite often. I mean, as crazy as it sounds too, is a lot of the goals that I kind of had or thought I had, in maybe like my earlier 20s or middle 20s, even I've kind of done because I think each person defines success in their own way. To me, it's not about like money and big fame and whatever, but it's been like, well, I want to start a management company or I want to put out, a DVD or I want to write an album or I want to do whatever. I'm going to get signed and start a label. It's just been neat to cross each of those off, and call it my own, success, I guess. So, I mean, right now, what's coming up in my mind is I want to continue developing Summit Fest the best we can. I'd like to continue growing CB Entertainment and Legend to, bigger plateaus and just keep expanding the reach for artists in that. And honestly, I feel like I want to do something more like either open a concert venue at some point, some sort of a situation like that, or some sort of a musician's hub where like we house, a venue, a rehearsal studio, a photo studio, a meeting room, some sort of a space where it can be kind of a collective would be a real goal. Um, Something like that I think would make sense for now into my future as I get older too, somewhere where I don't have to kind of travel as much and be all over the place, but I can bring the arts to us but still have it be, something beneficial, I guess, to the area and bring fans in and stuff. So I think that's what it would be, is to just figure out that, how to pull that off.
Ah, I like that. I like that a lot, man. I tell you, I mean, it's I've learned a lot just from. I mean, I've known you and we passed by, but
Yeah.
just learned a lot, and I'm very impressed just from this conversation, man. And if there's anything I can ever do, to help you with some of these goals and projects you
Sure.
got going on, man, I'd love to.
Absolutely
Um,
means a lot. We're always trying to find the right people to just, because everybody has their, I guess, skill set, call it, right, too, that their strengths and weaknesses and whatever it is. So it's like, however we can try to, find ways to always help each other as a collective too. I'm always about that. I love that.
awesome. Now, before we get ready to wrap up, you mind if I ask you some of the questions I normally ask guests that are on?
Yeah, totally. No, I'm pumped. Let's see.
All right. Who are your top three musical artists?
Whew. Man, that's a good one too. Shoot, I don't know. I have to go with Kiss as number one. I mean, I think through and through, that's one band that's been like my all-time favorite band since I can ever remember. Still inspire me. 70 something years old, still out there rocking it. Real rock star. So I'd say Kiss. Um, hmm Probably Glassjaw of all bands, and a lot of people don't even know of them or remember of them or anything. But it's just a band that to me has always been one of my top favorite bands that I've really loved, still love, can listen to endlessly and never get tired of it. And the emotion in his voice is just like something I love. Third, I don't really know. I mean, something probably like, to be honest, like screamo, probably like Taking Back Sunday or like Fallout Boy or something like that. As much as I love metal, um, I've listened to so much metal and still listen to so much metal that like my brain is just like it all kind of blends to me and stuff. So I mean, unless it's something super unique, it's hard for me to give it long listens. But I mean, something as simple as like a Fallout Boy or Taking Back Sunday, where it's just catchy vocals, it's easy on the ears, it's not overbearing, and it's songs that get stuck in my head. So it reminds me of like my teen years too, I guess. So I'm stuck in that era of stuff.
Yeah, gotcha. And then is there a particular song that you feel has inspired you in life that's a go-to, like whenever it's always on your playlist or it's always something that you can go back to when you need that extra like motivation?
That's another really great question, honestly. And oh, I don't know if that's hard to hone in. I'll try not to take long. Let me just brainstorm and think. I mean, probably something to to get me hyped up, honestly, depending on the situation, but more times than not, probably a song by Slipknot, probably something early Slipknot, and that could even be like a happy moment, an angry moment, or whatever moment. But when I need to get, get feeling right and get in the zone, even for meetings and things, I can just pop on usually something again from an early Slipknot when he was still really angry and dark and kind of evil, and just hit with that. And it's been years and years, and that still never fails for me. So I love them.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. And then, what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school?
Great question as well. I mean, I have a well, you have children, of course, but I have a 6 year old, so he's in kindergarten now, and school is changing, things are changing. I think some sort of class about truly about business or taxes or entrepreneurship would be really really smart in today's world, because there's so many options and opportunities now that even when I was in school in like what 2006 7 whatever year we graduated, but like back then people would say you can't work online, there's no way, you have to go to a job and you have to do this and do that. And I mean, even looking now at how things have changed, there's so many people that can work from home or make a living from home, or do things kind of on their own regards. So I mean, I think just teaching the students more about understanding, how do you do your taxes, or how could you start a business, or what's the process? It's not as hard and scary as it might seem, and things like that would be crucial, especially to like young high school students and things.
Agreed, for sure. And then, who are three people who've inspired you or you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I would definitely say, you know, my mom, my grandparents, would probably be, uh, I guess, the main gist of that, really. I was raised a lot with my grandparents. So, I mean, I feel like I'm kind of an old soul in a weird way, just from spending so much time as a child with like a lot of grandparents all the time and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think my mom and my grandparents, I guess if you would count that, like three would be the most. I mean, they were able to instill in me, good work ethics and things, and good values, good morals, good stuff like that, that maybe some kids don't get because they might have younger parents, and maybe the parents are still growing and learning and stuff like that. As opposed to, I felt like, when I was around those people, I didn't know it then, but now that I like think back on it, is like they were already past all that stuff and able to just like have patience, and again, and still like, even if it was some old values and things, but I mean, I still love that stuff, certain things and elements of it. So yeah, I'd say that.
I agree 100%, man. My dad was an old World War II Marine, and a lot
Yes.
of things, man. It's just like, you think it's just like you're rolling your eyes when they're telling you stuff, or you're not listening, or come on, you don't know what you're talking about. But man, all that stuff was like planting seeds. And now
Yes.
that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, no, and now I'm passing it on to my kids. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I
definitely a
think
lot of
that's
good wisdom.
sure. No, absolutely. And I hope to do that as well. Yeah, with my son, and try to teach him. And I'm trying not to be stuck, and it's not like it's too old of ways or anything, but trying to be on the line and not get lost though, and tangled up in too much of today's, I guess, jargon. And I mean, you have to use the technology and go with the flow, but to your everybody's own extents and things, of course, because man, is it getting more and more crazy every day, just as a whole.
Yeah, I got, yeah, that's a whole nother episode we could do.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
what, are there any causes or organizations that you support and encourage others to check out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've found, doing stuff locally, like what was it, the Ronald McDonald House they have, I think, in Akron and Cleveland and Toledo, a few other places like that. That's been one we've done a few donations with, and that helps, children or families even in need of certain help and support and places to stay. Has been one that's been really nice that I've liked. And we've done some things, music wise over the years with like the Grammys and the Grammy Foundation. What else? Little Kids Rock. We've done a few things with her, and they're another great one that helps. And then recently we did start our own foundation, the Bianchi Foundation, it's called, and that's started here for locally in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, as of right now. with a goal broadly in mind to just provide support for, children, or underprivileged children that have been affected in some way. Maybe they can't afford an instrument and want to play, or they have, maybe a broken home and they're trying to learn music as a way of expression, or just certain things that we want to bring to the table, locally, and try to make a difference on it. And I do a donation every year on my birthday. It's just been something that I've kind of liked to do over the past few years. And that's where we had worked with, Little Kids Rock and a few other really great organizations. But I guess the problem with that I faced is I didn't know where the funds would end up, and I didn't like just
Yeah.
cutting a check and saying, hey, here's a few $100s, go do something, and, just to feel good about it or something like that. I wanted to be, again, that control thing, not an ego, but like I wanted to be in control and know, hey, if we have these funds, or hey, we can take these guitars physically and I know it's going to this person, or we make sure it's going, where we want it to go. So I mean, it's a labor of love. It's a small foundation. It'll be something that'll be growing slowly but surely, hopefully over the years. This year we're going to donate. We have 4 guitars that we're in the process right now of finding the right homes for. We have 2 of them that are spoken for that'll go to a local school. They're going to go through and find kids who are a little bit underprivileged in that school who are wanting to learn music and things like that. And we have 2 more that'll be going out. We're going to kind of continue finding the right place for those to go in the right homes, instead of just tossing them out somewhere or doing some kind of like charity auction or a raffle or something like that. So still in the process, but yeah, the Bianchi Foundation for Northeast Ohio.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And I just recently connected with, I'll send you some information. There's a group and some people that I think might be able to help you, with that, uh,
Absolutely.
another good power of networking,
Sure. That would mean a
thing.
lot.
So yeah, I'll hit you up offline for that. And this is like one of my favorites to ask. It takes everybody back. I know they were kind of like, a little bit different generational, uh, growing up, but favorite toy as a child.
Hmm. Oh man, that's a tough one too. Honestly, I'm trying to even remember. I mean, I had like the Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy. I remember that I was always like wrestling that thing back in the day. Um, what else did I like? Power Rangers toys I had. I'm pretty sure. A lot of wrestling stuff, to be honest. Again, that's what I was saying earlier. Was like my 2 things. I loved music and wrestling. So like I was full on. I mean, I had all the action figures and the wrestling rings and the belts and the t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I remember. A lot of my childhood was watching WWF at the time, and collecting that kind of stuff mostly.
Nice. And then any message that you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, without sounding too cliche and to the point, just thank you. It means a lot for the service and for the dedication. For the people that go and do that and risk their lives and leave their families and do all that kind of stuff. I mean, for a lot of our selfishness, to just be free and do all what we want to do and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, hopefully, importantly, too, everybody's safe, in crazy times like now, and who knows what's to come in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Chris, man, it's been a great conversation. Good getting to know you better. And I hope,
Yeah, same.
I definitely want to send you, keep in contact. I have
Absolutely.
a lot of ideas that I want to send your way and some people to get you connected with that might help, Summit Fest and your foundation and some of the other things that you have in the works.
Well, of course. I mean, it's been really a pleasure doing this. This has been awesome. Looking forward to more episodes and checking more episodes out. Obviously, too, that you'll put out. Thank you for having me, and hopefully, I can connect with yourself, but any audience, if anybody's catching this, be it at Inkcarceration or Summit Fest or somewhere around. Hopefully, we can connect and chat more in person, about music or anything else. So, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And then for anybody that out of the audience that's like new to hearing about you and all the projects you're working on, where would you send them to check it out to learn more?
Sure. So, I mean, I'm on all the social media. If you type in, even though the last name is a little tricky, but just Chris Bianchi, it'll pop up. Or on Google, there's a bunch of things for kind of ways to connect, or simple as www.chrisbianchi, the number 1, Boondoggle.com. Has kind of the links to everything or what's coming up for myself and our projects and all kinds of good stuff there. So yeah, I mean, definitely look forward to hopefully connecting with some of you.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time.
Have a great day. You too.
All right, you too. Take care.